This happened a few years ago. I was 32 then, a school teacher trying to escape the city noise for a long weekend. I thought camping in the Appalachian Mountains would help me unwind. So, I set up my tent near a quiet lake surrounded by tall pines. It seemed perfect. I could watch fireworks and enjoy the clear skies. I lit a small campfire and settled in. The peace was relaxing. As night fell, the fireworks started lighting up the sky. I heard the distant booms and felt a sense of joy. But then, I noticed something odd. The wind carried a faint, haunting melody. It drifted through the trees. I wasn't sure where it came from, but it felt eerie. I figured it was just my imagination or maybe a party somewhere far off. It pulled at my curiosity. Around midnight, the fireworks got louder. Then I heard something else. Voices echoed through the woods. People were chanting in unison. It sent a chill down my spine. I felt uneasy. It could just be the celebration, but something felt off. I thought about going back to the city, but something held me there. The melody returned, now clearer and more urgent. It felt like it was calling me deeper into the woods. I could hardly breathe as shadows flickered around my campsite. My heart was racing, but I got up to explore. Each step made me feel like the forest was alive, whispering secrets. I didn't see anyone around. Then, I stumbled onto something that stopped me cold. There were large footprints leading away from my tent. They were too big to be mine, and I felt my stomach knot. I had camped alone, and these prints looked strange. What if someone else was out there? Cold sweat trickled down my back. As I stared at the footprints, the chanting grew louder. I could see faint flashes of light weaving through the trees. My instincts screamed at me to leave. I thought about the stories I'd read about lost campers. I turned to run back to my tent, but the darkness felt thicker. Just then, I thought I saw someone standing at the edge of my clearing. I blinked, and when I looked again, nobody was there. I can't say if it was all in my head. The sounds and sights blurred into something I still can't explain. I hesitated at my tent, too afraid to close my eyes. I knew I had to leave, but the fear of what I might find stopped me. Maybe I should have packed up my gear. Then, I turned to grab my stuff. My breath hitched. There was a shadow standing right outside my tent. I strained to see better, but it was just dark. I didn't know what it wanted. But my heart pounded, and every instinct told me to get out of there. I wanted to scream, but no sound came. In that moment, I felt trapped. I didn't know if I should face it or run. I still wonder about that night. I never went camping alone again. I stood there, frozen, my heart racing in the silence. It felt like the shadow was watching me, sizing me up. My brain was trying to make sense of it. Was it a trick of the light? Or was there truly someone out there? I could only hear the distant echoes of the fireworks, which now seemed like muted reminders of normalcy. I decided I couldn't stay there any longer. I needed to move. Steeling myself, I breathed in sharply and took a step forward, intent on grabbing my gear and making a run for it. That's when I heard it, a low whisper, like the rustling of leaves but distinct, so distinct it sent a sharp wave of dread through me. Please, I thought, just let me get my stuff. I turned back towards the tent just in time to see the shadow shift. It moved slightly closer, still engulfed in darkness but undeniably present. I couldn't see any features, no clothes or limbs. Just a shape that felt all too real. My breath quickened again, and I fought the urge to bolt. I felt the chill of fear crawling up my spine. What if it was just someone lost? Or worse, someone who wasn't supposed to be here? It was then I noticed something glinting on the ground near the tent. Crouching down, my flashlight beam revealed a small object. It was a pendant, perhaps silver, with strange markings etched on it. My fingers brushed against it, and a surge of dread hit me so hard I stumbled back. I couldn't shake the feeling that this was connected to the shadow outside. Had they dropped it? Or had it been there waiting for me to find it? I picked it up hesitantly, the metal feeling cool against my skin. I stood upright again, my heart pounding, and held the pendant up to the light. The symbols felt familiar but twisted in a way that unsettled me. Something deep inside me screamed to run, but I couldn't tear my eyes away. Suddenly, the chanting intensified, wrapping around me like a net. I was paralyzed. That's when I heard a twig snap behind me. My blood ran cold. All the hairs on my neck stood up. Someone was coming. I couldn't think, instinct took over. I tucked the pendant into my pocket and bolted, not daring to look back. The forest was dark, I was disoriented and running blindly, zigzagging between trees. The chanting grew louder, accompanied by an eerie echo that chased me deeper into the woods. Panic surged as I stumbled through underbrush, cursing myself for being so foolish to camp alone. Then, I spotted a faint glow to my right. My instinct told me it might be another camper, maybe safety. I changed direction, running toward it, but with every step, the ground felt unstable beneath me. I glanced behind, and the shadow was following, closer than before. When I reached the source of the light, my breath caught in my throat. It wasn't another camper. It was a circle of fire, surrounded by figures cloaked in darkness, their faces obscured. They were swaying, chanting, and I realized with horror that I had stumbled into something I couldn't comprehend. And in the center of the fire, someone with a familiar gaze. "Help me," I whispered, but the words barely left my mouth before everything went dark. I blinked my eyes open, disoriented. The darkness around me was thick, but it was different now. The air was heavy, suffocating as if the forest held its breath. Memories of the shadow flickered through my mind like a broken movie reel. I tried to move, but my body felt like it was anchored in place. I strained against an unseen weight, panic creeping back in. My heart raced. What happened? I thought, forcing my mind to find clarity. Then, a low hum filled the air, a sound that vibrated through my chest. It was rhythmic, almost hypnotic. I felt the ground beneath me shifting, a soft pulse resonating with the hum as if the earth thrummed in response to the chanting. Desperately, I turned my head. I could see faint outlines in the darkness, shadows slowly revealing themselves as more than just echoes. The figures from before swayed back and forth, their forms shifting as though made of smoke. I was on the ground, hidden behind a cluster of bushes, and they were too focused on their ritual to notice me. The flames crackled, casting flickering orange light that danced on the figures. My heart stumbled at a familiar face among the cloaked beings. It was Emily, my old friend. I hadn't seen her in years. This wasn't right. She was supposed to be celebrating at the lake, not here, not involved in this. Emily. I wanted to scream, but my voice was lost in the thick night air. As if sensing my gaze, she lifted her head. The moment our eyes met, her expression shifted. It was a look I'd never seen on her before, a blend of fear and unyielding resolve. Then I heard a low voice, resonating from the center of the circle. It spoke words I couldn't understand, but somehow, they drew me in. I felt cold fingers of dread creeping along my spine as they echoed around me. Stop. I thought, trying to break the spell over me. I needed to escape. I didn't want to be part of whatever this was, but I couldn't move. My body felt like it weighed a ton. The ground beneath me felt softer, and all at once, I was aware of the pendant in my pocket. It pulsed gently against my leg, urging me to take it out, to do something. What if it was connected to this mess? What if it held some power? Panic surged again, and I struggled against the weight pinning me down. Then, just as I began to catch my breath, I noticed something else in the firelight, a glint of steel. A dagger lay in the center of their ritual, soaked in shadows. They started chanting louder, weaving together a melody that made my head spin. "Emily!" I whispered again. But she turned away, caught up in whatever was happening. That familiar gaze was replaced by a blank stare, as if she was no longer herself. My heart sank under the realization that I might not save her, not without acting quickly. Taking a deep breath, I reached for the pendant. I had to try. I had to find my voice, no matter the cost. But just as I held it out, the chanting stopped. Eyes turned towards me. They knew I was here. The fire roared higher, illuminating their faces, revealing not just Emily but a dozen others I recognized, people from my small town. They were all entranced, standing on the edge of darkness. And I was right in the middle of it. I had to run. I had to get to Emily. But the moment I began to rise, a figure stepped forward from the circle. "Join us," it whispered, its voice wrapping around me like chains. It felt like a command, but beneath that, something familiar lingered. And then I noticed the figure's eyes so like my own. "Who are you?" I gasped, recognizing that familiar gaze once more, and dread settled into my gut as everything went dark again. I woke up again, but this time the darkness didn't feel heavy. It was cold and sharp, like a knife cutting through fog. For a brief moment, I didn't remember anything. Then the memories rushed back, the figures, the chanting, Emily's face. All around me was silence now, deep and oppressive. I pushed myself upright, every muscle protesting as I did. The pendant was still clutched in my hand, warm against my skin. I looked around, desperately searching for familiar shapes in the dim light. The fire was gone, leaving only blackened earth where it had burned. My heart raced faster than before. I stumbled to my feet and nearly fell as I regained my balance. "What is happening?" I whispered, my voice shaky. I felt a wave of nausea wash over me, the remnants of fear tangling with confusion. Then I heard a soft rustling nearby. I froze, my eyes darting toward the sound. A shadow flicked in the corner of my vision. I wasn't alone. "Is anyone there?" I called out, my voice barely breaking the stillness. No response. Only the whispering of the trees around me. I took a shaky step forward, and the ground beneath my feet shifted, a dull thud reverberated through the earth. Despite every instinct screaming at me to run, I took another step. The chill in the air intensified, as if whatever had drawn the group to that clearing lingered, even now. Suddenly, I spotted a figure emerging from the tree line. My stomach dropped. "Emily?" I called again, desperation clawing at my throat. The figure paused, and as the moonlight caught her face, I saw it was indeed Emily. But she didn't look like the girl I once knew. Her expression was distant, and her eyes, a mirror of the darkness I had felt earlier, seemed to shimmer with something not entirely human. "Help me," she whispered, taking a step toward me, but then she stopped, almost as if an invisible barrier restrained her. Are you okay?" I couldn't tell if she was scared or trying to protect me. "Don't ask questions," she said, her voice strained. "You need to leave." "Leave? Why? What is going on?" I took a step closer, but she recoiled, a flicker of panic crossing her face. "It's too late for that. You don't understand what you're dealing with." The urgency in her voice sent a chill down my spine, but I felt anchored to the spot. "Then what do I do?" As if summoned by my question, shadows slithered from the trees, creeping closer. I turned to run, but the shadows twisted and coiled tighter, wrapping around my feet, holding me in place. Panic squeezed the air from my lungs. "Emily, please!" I yelled, desperate. "You have to help me." She reached out as if to grasp my hand but stopped short. "You have to wake up." And just like that, the ground trembled again. The forest trembled as a low growl rolled through the air. In the distance, a shape loomed, massive and dark against the backdrop of trees. That's when I saw it, a pair of glowing eyes emerging from the void, locking onto me with a hunger that paralyzed my heart. In that moment, I understood. It was no longer just about Emily or the pendant. I was in the very depths of something I couldn't define, and whatever it was, it wanted me too. I felt that familiar pull from the pendant in my pocket. I had to act. I had to break free. But before I could muster the strength to move, the creature lurched forward, and everything faded into darkness once more. I gasped as the darkness enveloped me completely, but then light burst forth, blinding and sharp. I slammed my eyes shut. The growling faded into a low hum, and when I opened them again, I found myself back in the clearing, but it felt different, charged, electric. What just happened? I muttered, my voice breaking the eerie silence. I looked around. The shadows had receded, but I could still feel their presence, like a weight pressing down on me. Then, I sensed movement. I turned, half hoping it was Emily, but the silhouette was unfamiliar. A tall figure stepped from behind a tree. I squinted at it, my heart racing. "Who are you?" I called, unsure if I should be more afraid of this new presence than the creature I had just faced. "Calm down," the figure said, holding up a hand. It appeared to be a man, rugged, with a dirt-smeared face and wild, tangled hair. "I'm not here to hurt you." "Then why are you in the woods?" I shot back, the horror of the night flooding back. "What do you want?" "I'm more concerned with what you're doing here," he shot back, his eyes scanning the trees, wary and alert. "You need to leave this place. Now." "What? Why?" I struggled to comprehend his urgency. "I just saw, Emily was here. She needs help. Trust me, girl. This is not the place to be tangled with the likes of her," he said, his voice low. "You've got to go before it comes back." I clutched the pendant tightly, remembering Emily's warning. "What are you so afraid of?" He stepped closer, his expression shifting from caution to desperation. "You're drawing its attention. The pendant, it's a beacon." The weight of his words sank in. "What do you mean?" Suddenly, the ground shook again, this time more violently. I stumbled back, nearly losing my balance. The shadows weren't just lurking anymore, they were gathering, swirling like a dark storm. "Run!" he yelled, darting toward the edge of the clearing. I hesitated, my instinct to follow Emily fighting against my fear of the man. But as the shadows writhed, I made my choice. I bolted after him, my legs pumping as I raced through the trees. I could hear the sounds of the forest around me, the rustling leaves, distant branches snapping, something heavy crashing through the underbrush behind us. "Where are we going?" I panted, glancing back over my shoulder. The glowing eyes I had seen before flickered at the edge of the clearing, sharp and hungry. "Somewhere safe. Just keep moving," he shouted, weaving around a cluster of trees. The panic surged in my chest, and I felt the familiar nausea rise again. We pushed through the dense foliage, branches snagging at my shirt and hair. "What's your name?" I shouted, desperate for answers. "Jason. And you need to hang on," he replied as we barreled deeper into the forest. Something roared behind us, a primal sound that sent a jolt of fear straight through my bones. "Faster," he urged. Then everything changed again. A blinding flash of light erupted in the distance. It looked like fireworks, but there was no way they should be here in the heart of the woods. "Look!" Jason yelled, pointing toward the flickering lights. "That might be our way out." But before I could say anything, an explosion of sound crashed through the trees, echoing ominously. The shadows closed in tighter, and my heart raced as I realized we might not escape. I looked at Jason, brimming with uncertainty. "What if we can't get away?" "Then we'll find out what it's after," he answered grimly, his resolve cutting through my fear. But I could already feel the pull of the shadows trying to drag me back. I had to make a choice: keep running or confront whatever waited for us. And that s when I felt it, the unmistakable heat of those glowing eyes fixed on me once more. As we raced through the underbrush, the heat from the glowing eyes intensified, like a spotlight tracking my every step. I could feel them boring into my back, and in that moment, I knew we were on borrowed time. "Jason, it's south, too close," I yelled, more out of panic than strategy. My lungs burned, but I pushed harder, fueled by an adrenaline I didn't know I had. "I can sense it," he snapped back, glancing over his shoulder. "Just trust me." I didn't have a choice. The lights flickered again ahead, pulsing like a heartbeat. They seemed to call to me, mixing with the crashing panic in my chest. "Is that safe?" I shouted, still unsure if Jason was leading me to safety or to a worse fate. "Nothing here is safe," he yelled, the worry in his voice barely masking the determination. "But it's the best chance we've got." The shadows pooled like a living thing, creeping closer, heavy and suffocating. But the lights glimmered in the darkness, offering a glimmer of hope. I could see colors now: red, blue, bright white. Fireworks? It didn't make sense. I felt the urge to run toward them, but fear held me back. Suddenly, Jason skidded to a stop, and I collided with him. "What?" I demanded, my frustration boiling over. He pointed. "We need to find cover. Quick." There was a tree trunk, gnarled and enormous, just ahead. We ducked behind it, crouching low. My heart raced as we listened. The growl grew closer, rippling through the air like a thunderous echo, drowning out the festive crackles from the lights. I pressed my ear to the bark, attempting to calm my breathing as Jason peered around the side. "That thing is hunting us," he murmured, his voice trembling just slightly. "We have to wait until it passes." The desperation in his tone sent a chill down my spine. Everything felt surreal. The celebration I had expected during the 4th of July was now a nightmare masked by fireworks. I closed my eyes, trying to think. What were we up against? A rustling nearby snapped my attention back. I peered out just in time to see a dark shape pass too close for comfort. My breath caught in my throat as it stalked by, low to the ground, a prickling chill dancing over my skin. "Did you see that?" I gasped. "What was it?" "I don't know. But I have a feeling it's only the beginning." He looked at me, the stark shadows of worry evident on his face. "We can't stay here." I hesitated. "What about the lights? They could help us get out." Jason's expression softened. "Or they could lead it right to us. We need to be smart about this. If we're going to make it out alive, we can't rush in without a plan." I swallowed hard, trying to tamp down the fear. "So what now?" "That flare goes off when the fireworks start," he said, gesturing towards the lights again. "We make a run for it when it's loudest. It'll drown out our noise." "Okay," I agreed, focusing on the rhythm of my heartbeat. The cacophony above us roared to life, color exploding in the sky. I could see in Jason's eyes that he was ready. But then, just as I prepared to spring into action, something in me twisted deeply with dread. What if we don't make it? His expression stiffened, and for an instant, the confidence crumbled. Then we'll confront whatever it is together. No one faces this alone. Just as he finished his sentence, the shadows suddenly convulsed, and the growl morphed into a sound so unnatural, it froze me in place. It was coming back. I knew then that our time was up. I could either leap into those fiery lights or get swallowed by the darkness. One heartbeat separate from a choice that would change everything. "Now!" Jason barked, his grip on my arm firm. And that's when we ran, straight into the heart of the firework display, unaware of what truly awaited us. The fireworks erupted above us, their bright colors illuminating the dark woods like a chaotic constellation. Jason pulled me forward, but the moment we stepped into the open, a flash of light passed over us, revealing the distorted shape of the creature stalking beyond the trees. My heart raced as we dashed toward the safety of the illumination. With every explosion, I felt weightless, caught between the beauty of colors and the horror of what lingered in the shadows. Trees rushed by, their silhouettes warped and twisted in the bursts of light. "Keep going," Jason yelled, urging me forward. I sensed the fear in his voice. We both understood that any second could be our last. Adrenaline surged, sharpening my focus. I spotted a thinning patch between the trees, a clearing framed by flickering lights. "There!" I shouted, trying to redirect his attention. We sprinted toward it, but worry clawed at me. With each step, I felt the tension of being hunted, the creaturesque growl now a distant echo mixed with the booming fireworks. I could feel my body begging for a break, but that wasn't an option. Not now. As we reached the edge of the clearing, Jason stopped short. "Wait!" he gasped, panic flashing across his face. "Where did it go?" I turned to look back toward the trees just as a darker shadow moved against the backdrop of the fireworks. It was quick, too quick. Jason, then there was a sudden thud. The ground trembled beneath us. My stomach twisted as I exchanged a terrified glance with him. "We need to find something to defend ourselves," he whispered, scanning the ground for anything useful. My eyes darted around, and that when I saw it, a small, broken branch. I grabbed it, gripping it like a lifeline. "What now?" "Now we keep moving," he replied, his confidence returning. "We have to find a place to hide." We navigated the clearing, shadows casting sinister shapes around us. The fireworks provided cover, but I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched. The sounds of celebration faded away, swallowed by the rising tension in my gut. "Over there." Jason pointed to a dilapidated shed at the far end of the clearing. The structure leaned precariously, but it seemed sturdy enough to give us a moment's reprieve. As we sprinted toward it, the creaturesque growl echoed once more, closer this time, almost angry. We burst through the door, slamming it shut behind us, panting heavily. It was dark. The only light came from the gaps between the planks. I leaned against the door, trying to catch my breath, and Jason crouched beside me, glancing nervously at the dark corners. "Can you believe this?" he whispered, shaking his head. "I thought we were just coming out here to light fireworks." I didn't respond, just listened intently. The growling stopped. Silence wrapped around us, thick and oppressive. "What if it's waiting out there?" I finally said, my voice trembling. Jason's eyes widened. "We can't think like that. We have to stay focused." But then, through the gaps, I noticed something. Shadows moved, more than one. I could see them converging at the shed. "This isn't good," I murmured, fear crunching in my chest. Suddenly, a creaking sound pierced through the stillness. I froze. "Did you hear that?" Jason nodded slowly. "We might not be safe here." My heart raced again. As if sensing our fear, the growling returned, now accompanied by a chorus of eerie noises and unsettling harmony that sent chills up my spine. And in that terrifying moment, I knew that whatever had been chasing us was no longer just outside. Something was inside the shed with us. The door rattled. The door rattled violently, like it was caught in the grip of a storm. I held my breath, every instinct screaming to run. But where to? The darkness swallowed any hope of escape. "Jason," I whispered, my voice barely audible. His eyes were wide, reflecting fear and uncertainty. "What do we do?" "I don't know," he said, shaking his head. His grip on the broken branch tightened, knuckles white. "We can't just stay here. We need a plan." Suddenly, a clawed hand slammed against the wooden door, causing it to shudder. I jumped back, pressing into a corner. Whatever was outside was powerful, strong enough to break through in an instant. Another thud reverberated through the shed. "It's getting in," I shouted, panicking. "What if it don't say it?" Jason barked. He was on his feet now, pacing the cramped space. "We have to think." A frantic energy rippled through me as I scanned the shed. It felt like a death trap, filled with forgotten tools and decaying wood. My eyes landed on a rusty old shovel leaning against the wall. "That." I pointed. "Grab it." Jason dashed for the shovel and handed it to me. "What now?" he asked, breathless. "We wait," I said, my voice shaking. "When it comes in, we'll surprise it." "Are you crazy?" he breathed. "What if it lunges at us? We need to find a back exit." Just then, the door creaked open an inch, a gap widening before it paused. My heart nearly stopped. I could see a dark shape beyond the threshold, lower to the ground. It had glowing eyes, reflecting the faint light from the gaps. In a flash of instinct, I shouted, "Now!" swinging the shovel wildly at the door. It connected with a sickening thud, and the creature let out a roar that shook me to my bones. The door rattled again, but this time, I felt a shift. It was forcing its way in, using sheer force. "We need to go," Jason shouted, desperation in his voice. I took a step back, desperate to think. "What about the windows?" "They're boarded up," he said, panic creeping into his tone. The creature surged again. The door cracked, splintering under the pressure. "Come on!" I yelled. We had no choice. Jason lunged for the back wall, and I followed, my instincts taking over. We pushed against the rotting wood, praying it would hold. I felt a rush of cool air behind me, an opening. It was then that I realized, the creature wasn't just trying to get in, it was toying with us. Stepping closer to my side, the shadows shifted and the growling grew louder. "I see something." Jason pointed at a small window near the ceiling. "If we can get up there, we might." They hit the door again, this time with a thunderous force. The lock gave way, flying off the hinges, and the door burst open. In a split second, time slowed. I locked eyes with the creature. It was hulking and monstrous, fangs bared, eyes glistening with something like cunning or hunger. It southed too close. I screamed, fear ripping through me. Just as it lunged, I pushed Jason towards the back wall, shouting for him to jump. But in that moment, we both fell as the ground beneath us gave way, and everything went dark. I hit the ground hard, the impact jolting my body awake. I landed in a heap of dirt and debris, disoriented and gasping for breath. My heart raced as I fought to make sense of the darkness around me. Where was Jason? "Jason!" I called, my voice echoing in the silence. I struggled to sit up, glancing around. It was pitch black, but a faint light flickered from somewhere further inside. I could hear the distant sound of the creature scrabbling at the edge of the hole that had swallowed us. "Over here." Jason's voice came, relieved yet shaky. I turned toward it and crawled through the loose earth, my hands scratching against the uneven surface. "I'm okay. But I think we're in a tunnel or something," he said. I could barely make out his figure against the dim glow. With my heart still pounding, I pushed forward. "We have to get out of here." "That thing could follow us," I said. My voice trembled as I thought of the creature's bared fangs and glowing eyes. Jason nodded. "Let us follow the light. Maybe we can find a way up." We crawled toward the glow, pulling ourselves through the narrow tunnel. The dirt smelled musty, and with every inch forward, I felt the silence pressing down on me. Where could this lead? My mind raced with possibilities, all of them terrifying. As we reached the source of the light, I realized it came from a small opening in the tunnel. I peeked through, finding that it opened into a larger, underground room. Shadows danced across the stone walls, lit by some sort of flickering lanterns. "Look!" Jason whispered, pointing. I followed his gaze and saw crude markings covering the walls. They seemed to tell a story, carved into the stone and filled with dark, red stains. "What is this place?" I breathed. The markings looked ancient, almost ritualistic. My gut twisted with dread. We were just about to step into the room when the ground shook, and the sound of something heavy thudding echoed through the tunnel, closer than before. "Oh no," Jason said, panic rising in his voice. "It found us. Run!" I yelled, instincts kicking in. I darted back the way we had come, Jason following closely behind. The thuds grew louder, the creature moving fast. We reached the opening we had crawled through, but the ground around it collapsed further, the exit narrowing. I pushed desperately against the dirt wall, my hands clawing at the loose earth. "It's too tight. I'll pull you," Jason shouted, gripping my arm. Just as he yanked me forward, I heard a terrifying growl. It was right behind us. My heart raced as I shoved my body through the narrow space, squeezing past the edges. With a final push, I tumbled out into the cool air, landing hard on the ground above. Jason followed, barely making it through as earth and roots tumbled in after us, blocking the tunnel. "We need to keep moving," I gasped, scrambling to my feet. But before we could figure out our next move, we heard a whisper of voice cut through the stillness. "Help me." It was faint, almost lost in the rustling leaves. I froze, glancing wildly at Jason. "Did you hear that?" "That's not," but before he could finish, a creeping shadow appeared, moving toward us with an unfamiliar presence. "What if it's another one?" I whispered, fear flooding my veins. But then I realized something. The voice was familiar. "Jason, wait!" I shouted, but he was already stepping forward into the shadow's path as everything around us shifted once more. I held my breath, watching as Jason stepped tentatively toward the shadow. "Wait!" I shouted again, my voice ripping through the tension as if it were a lifeline. But he was already too far, drawn in by that ghostly whisper. "Help me!" Before I could reach him, the shadow flickered, taking form, and I recognized her immediately. "Emily?" My heart soared, yet my instincts screamed to remain cautious. She looked different. There was something ethereal about her, the air shimmering around her like heat waves on asphalt. "Help me," she repeated, her voice distant and pleading, the shadows swirling around her in a disorienting dance. "Get back!" I yelled to Jason, my heart pounding. "It's not her. Don't trust it." But the moment I shouted, the forest around us erupted into chaos. Shadows surged, spilling from the trees like a dark tide. Jason stood frozen, caught between instinct and loyalty. "Emily, is that you?" he called, his voice wavering. "Please, Jason," the figure persisted, her eyes shimmering with some otherworldly light. "You're safe here. They're coming for you. I can help." As the shadows twisted, I felt an ominous chill clawing upward. "Don't listen." I shouted again, fear surging through me. What if this was a trap? I couldn't shake the feeling that she was luring us, another layer of deception from the darkness trying to draw us in. Jason's gaze darted between me and Emily. "But she needs us," he insisted, stepping closer, inching away from me. "It's not safe," I screamed as shadows looped closer. "We need to go. Now." But the pull of the figure was intoxicating. The way Emily swayed, her voice wrapping around us like a melodic spell, softened the edges of my fear. "Please, Jason," she coaxed. "I'm here to help you escape." Just then, the underbrush rustled violently, and I knew we had little time. I grabbed Jason's arm, yanking him back toward me. "We have to get out of here." He hesitated, conflicted as the shadows pulsated around her. What if she's telling the truth? Frustration boiled in my chest. But what if she isn't? Don't you see what's happening? Suddenly, the shadows coalesced into a large form at the tree line. I sensed it lurking, watching us. The growl returned, low and rumbling, rattling the very air we breathed. "I can protect you," Emily called, her voice echoing, but now tinged with desperation and something darker. The shadows surged at her words, swirling faster as if urging me to listen, urging Jason to stay. I glanced at Jason, his face conflicted. "She's not real," I said, my voice fierce. "We cannot trust the shadows. We can't let it manipulate us." The growl grew louder, pushing at us, consuming the night air. It burned in my ears, thick with danger. I tugged on Jason again, forcing him to look at me. "This is our chance to escape. We can't get trapped in their lure. Remember what you've seen tonight? The ritual? We have to run." As he finally seemed to snap out of it, he nodded vigorously, shaking off the spell. "You're right. Let us go." We turned to run, but before we could flee, a whirlwind of shadows erupted around us, blocking our path. The whispering intensified, drowning out everything. "Come back. Stay." Emily's voice rose above the din, now sounding almost like a wail. "Don't look back," I yelled, plunging forward, trusting my instincts, pulling Jason behind me toward the faintest glow in the distance, the unseen fireworks still crackling, promising life beyond the forest. We pushed through the underbrush, branches scratching at our skin. The shadows shrieked behind us, furious at our escape, but we couldn't stop now. With God knows what hunting us, we sprinted toward those lights. The darkness roared as we broke through the tree-line and suddenly light. The nearby lake reflected vibrant bursts of colors in the sky, fireworks illuminating the night, reminders of what had been lost. But the safety wasn't guaranteed. I felt the weight of unseen eyes even now, the shadows still clinging at the edges of the illumination. Emerging into the light, I glanced back to the woods, my heart racing. "It's still out there," I gasped, trembling from adrenaline. "Its hunger knows no bounds." "What was it?" Jason asked, still shaking from the terror of it all. "What was all of this?" I shook my head, the memories still haunting. "I don't know, but it drew us in. It was all a trap. What was revealed in the dark is still unbound from us. We can't go back to what we knew before." I thought of Emily, of that haunting voice calling. I didn't know if it had truly been her or something else entirely. As we finally caught our breath, the sky exploded once more, lighting up the night, but I couldn't shake the lingering question running through my mind. Was it merely our imagination? Or had we glimpsed something terrible that transcended reason? We stood there for a moment, the last echoes of celebration ringing in our ears. As the colorful display illuminated the night, I silently wished for clarity amidst the chaos, but I knew the forest still held its secrets. I couldn't escape that darkness, and while we had made it out, part of me would always wonder if it was truly over. I turned to Jason and swallowed. "Let us go home." We walked away, the glow fading behind us, knowing the shadows remained, but we had escaped at least for now.